On this episode, ChocoPro decided to celebrate the 18-year anniversary of Masahiro Takanashi with one hell of a main event between him and Chonshiru. NWA Powerrr had an amazing event, of course, with a lot of things going on. As you know, there's still some grudges that are being built up and great storylines also being established. AEW Dark are now doing their shows at the Universal Studios soundstage in Florida, the same setting that Impact Wrestling had years ago. But also, we have the beginning of NXT 2.0. So, what took place in there other than the wedding of Index? So, let's get started with another episode of the Leader Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Lead It Wrestle Zone. All things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jay, right here. So, let's begin with the latest Choco Pro event 154 by Gatoh. So, the first match was sort of an unexpected match. We had Balin Aki taking on a guy named DJ Nira or Nero or Nino, whatever, Nira. This was a brutal match. Basically, the way I saw Nira, he had no regards for the rules. However, I felt bad for the ref. Now, those who don't know, everybody in Choco Pro, it doesn't matter who, they all have a specific role. Some actually play ref, others ring announcers, but in this case, Chonshiru, his role was being a ref. So, however, there are many times he was being attacked by Nira, but the one time Balian Aki, in the other hand, got blindsided by Nira and accidentally hurt Chonshiru, allowing for this match to end up in a no contest. Now, this was the last thing anybody wanted, but however, Nero caused the problem. So, I have to say, basically, I felt bad for Chon because Nero, he had no regards for anybody. The next match is a tag team match. We have the Too Much Energy, Chiko Ishikawa teaming up with the Big Apple, who I like to call the Sly Devil, Maya Shiruga, even though they already confessed that she has no friends, taking on Yuna Mizumori and, of course, Chris Brooks. Now, this match was unbelievably crazy. Now, I know Chi and Mei, they have almost a similar mindset when it comes to being a bit more crazy. They have the same kind of energy that they always do when they put up a great performance, but however, they even try to annoy Chris Brooks at any way possible. The match was great, but however, in the end, it was Yuna Mizumori and Chris Brooks that pinned Chiko Ishikawa in order to pick up the victory. Now, the main event was Shon Shiru and Masahiro Takanashi. This match went off board. I mean, it was amazing. There was a moment Shon brought in some sort of a drink, and they were turned the mat into a ring. They went crazy. They even took the match outside, but they had to keep the volume down because there were people sleeping or whatever was going on down there. But I think there was a moment that I enjoyed is where uh, what's happened. They tried to take it back, but DJ Nira turned it into a restaurant, and we had Tokiko Kihara acting like a freaking maid while Sayaka was making the food. And of course, a moment happened when Takanashi brought in a bike trying to run Shona up, but nothing worked. However, they even took the match once again outside, tried to go up to the other room, to this other place. However, it turned into a freaking funny moment where Chon, being a little freaky little ninja. But I think there was a best moment where Takanashi almost tried to take out Chon with the chair, but his tag team partner, one half of the Dragon Ninja, Saruyi, interfered. But however, she didn't let that happen. It was a great moment. And then, of course, we have Sayaka Obihiro, who tried to get involved, use like some sort of kung fu death touch on Chon, but it didn't work. But it got Takanashi instead. But in the end, I think the best part is when Chon put the tables and chairs on top of Takanashi, and bam, he won the match just like that. I was surprised how it ended. I would have assumed, because it's the 18th end year anniversary of Takanashi, but no, it didn't go that way. Now, if you guys want to know what happened in the Junkin tournament, well, I was assuming either Balian or May were going to win, or maybe perhaps Yuna, but no. In the end, it became Chris Brooks, who got away with it when his finals was against Balianaki, and it was the most, how to say this for them, not good, but it happened. So, so that's a pretty good event. But there's more ChocoPro coming up soon, but that's another time. Right now, let's keep moving forward with NWA Powerrr. Okay, NWA Powerrr opened up with an amazing interview with Trevor Murdoch. He called out Nick Aldis. Now, I thought this was going to be exchanging of words, but it was more of the matter of respect. Trevor talked about his story and also his thoughts, what Harley Race would think. As you know, Harley Race and Trevor were once students of Harley Race, and I think it kind of played out in a good way. And of course, Trevor even, I mean, Nick Aldis even remembered there are some rare times. If you know this, during this time, Trevor Murdoch took some time off from WWE, but he made a rare appearance to be in a seminar in Harley Race's school. And during that time, that's when he met a young Nick Aldis. And I think it played out a very good story, and it also told ever since Trevor stopped wrestling, it was Nick Aldis who told him where has he been. I mean, yeah, I mean, Trevor Murdoch was one of those wrestlers that we probably would have loved to see years ago, but now he's back and he's making headways in NWA, and I think they found a respect for each other once again, even though one way or the other, Nick Aldis will reclaim the 10 pounds of gold, but for now, it's Trevor Murdoch who is now the leading the ship on the NWA, being carrying the flag on his back. Now, the opening match is the tag team tournament for the number one contendership, who's going to face the current NWA Tag Team Champions. We have the Rude Dudes, Jamie Stanley and El Rudo, taking on Aaron Stevens and Kratos. Now, many people thought in this match it was going to be different. However, it did not. I think Stevens and Kratos told an amazing story of what's going on. It was Kratos who finished off in this match, but however, in the post match, Kratos explained something that was true. Many people expected this, that he was going to leave Stevens and move on to bigger things. However, Kratos says he was a hired mercenary, but now this is more about brotherhood, and he's begging. He's begging Aaron Stevens, bring out that killer instinct. I want to see that side of him. And I think Stevens is a bit hesitant, but at the same time, it's like he wants that killer instinct to come out. Who knows when will that happen, but definitely would love to see that. Now, as you know, we have the number one contender for the national title, Judas. Apparently, James Storm is demanding a match against Judas. But however, it doesn't matter what stipulation as long as the number one contendership is on the line. Now, James Mitchell is not willing to risk it. He is trying to keep that title, that part in the safe spot. But James Storm isn't gonna just give up that easily. Now, Melina comes out and joins the commentary group. Of course, she even explains what is her deal with Camille. Uh, it turns out that she preferred Camille to when she was just silent. If you guys remember this or not, Camille never talked, and now ever since she became the NWA Women's Champion, she she believes she sold out. I mean, it could be harsh words the way Melina pronounced it, but I don't think it matters. But at the same time, she's also paying attention to what's going on in the match that took place. We have Paula Blaze being accompanied by Genocide and Taryn Terrell taking on Marty Bell, who has uh, her tag team partner Allison Kay in her corner. Now, this was an exclusive match. If Paula Blaze beat Marty Bell, she and Genocide will have an opportunity for the NWA Women's Tag Team titles. But however, in this match, Marty Bell, who we saw her as the lowest card on the totem pole, was able to win this match. But however, next week we got Genocide taking on Allison Kay. Now, if it's the same scenario, if Genocide wins, she gets a shot. She and Paula takes a shot of the NWA Women's Tag Team titles. But out of the blue, as soon as the match was over, Camille attacked Melina. Now, I don't know if Camille took offense to what Melina said. If you guys been aware of this, prior before Thunder Rosa left NWA, she mentioned that Melina was stirring the pot, building enemies left and right. And I think it's telling the story. Melina she doesn't care. And recently we have seen her, she's been hanging out with Chris Adonis, even though they've known each other for many years. But we'll see where they're going to go with this. Now, May Valentine did interesting interviews coming from various people. The first one, we have the Pope. Now, Pope, in the other hand, he has an opportunity for a shot of the title during the Champion Series where his team won. However, he still has, I think it looks more like his tensions have been known. The original thought, is he going for the NWA television title? The answer to that question is no. It appears he's aiming for something bigger, which is the NWA World Heavyweight title and Trevor Murdoch. But he did say he does have respect for him. But the real question is, when will that happen? Who knows? But I think it's going to be killer. However, he wasn't the only one who had things on his mind. Colby Corino, who also won the championship series, he's not focused on that right now. And apparently his new focus is Hawks Airy, the father and son duo tag team. However, Colby Corino took offense to what PJ and Luke said. Both he and his father have no respect whatsoever. So basically, we could have a family feud between two different father and son duos. But we'll see when that day happens. And however, we just received a little visit from the hot mess. And you guys know who I'm talking about. Chelsea Green. It still looks like something just happened ever since she lost to Camille. That craziness has come out. I don't know. Even Kara Hogan had the right point. She's a hot mess. But Kara Hogan, her initial thought was Mickie James, who she confessed was her idol, her hero. She said she took offense to what she said during commentary and previously, but I don't know what is gonna happen. But this could build up into a good storyline, and I'm looking forward to that. Now, our next match is the number one contendership for the NWA television title. We have Jeremiah Plunkett, Zion, and Jordan Clearwater. Now, what's going on is the way I see it. Even though Austin Idols denied the whole thing, this looks more like they're trying to ensure that, what's his name, Tyrus gets his victories. Now, if you guys know this or not, the television championship, if you defend it 7 times, you get it automatically. You challenge for the NWA World Heavyweight Title. Is that the initial play that Austin Idol is doing? Pope was only 1 match short to do that, but it looks like Austin Idol has a much bigger plan. Even though he's refusing it, Jordan Clearwater seems that he won the match. So if that's the case, we'll see where they're gonna go with that. I mean, it tells the story that Idol is being smart, looking for ways to ensure Tyrus gets what he wants. Now, the next match, which is the main event, was a slap match between Jack Stane and Crimson. Very slaps, but however, Jack Stane sucker punched Crimson and things went out of control. However, Jack Stane also has another motive. The NWA World Heavyweight Champion, since Trevor Murdoch was out there, we had people that come out left and right. Strictly Business attacked, what's his name, Trevor Murdoch, and then here comes the Pope, Judas Storm. It was mayhem in every aspect. But the real question is, well, how this is going to be resolved, and that tells the story. And now it's out of control. Things have changed, but the real question is, what's going to happen with what? But we'll see what happens in the next NWA Powerrr when we see everything resolved. Alrighty, so we have AEW Dark, and this is day one for them to have their shows at the Universal Studios in Florida at the Soundstage, the same setting where Impact Wrestling did their shows back in the day when they were known as TNA. Now, before I proceed, what did I thought of the venue? I have to say, it's pretty interesting, very small. The setting was great. I have to say, I like it. Very different, very unique. Same kind of entranceway, but very smaller. And I have no problems with it. I have to say, um, AEW are doing some great work, even if the WWE loyalists are saying they're full of trash. Well, that's between what the fans' perspective to those loyalists. But right now, let's not talk about that. Excuse me. Now, the opening match, we have the Butcher and the Blade taking on Hunter Knott and Rosario Grillo. This is the first time we see Butcher and the Blade now back together, and they haven't missed a dang beat. I have to say they have done some great work, and the match was intense. But of course, Tony Schiavone made a fantastic point. These guys should definitely start picking up the slack and compete for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. And I think many fans I've been hearing on social media that the Butcher and the Blade should be the next wrestlers to challenge the Lucha Brothers for those tag titles. And I have to say, it should happen. We definitely could see a good rivalry between these two. But it did ended in favor of Butcher and the Blade winning and sending a message. They're coming for those titles. Now we got Anna Jay back taking on Ashley Dumbrell. And of course, she finished her off with the Queen Slayer, which is the same move she used on Brandy Rhodes. However, she was viciously attacked by Bunny until her BFF and tag partner Tay Conti show up to teach her a lesson. So it looks like this feud between them is far, far from over. The next match we have 2.0, Matt Lee and Jeff Parker being accompanied by none other than Daniel Garcia taking on Andrew and Eric Lockhart. You can guess in this particular match that 2.0 are becoming a much steady tag team ever since they aligned themselves with Daniel Garcia. But also on the side, behind the scenes of it, I think we're seeing that this is the team we definitely should have seen when they were in NXT instead of being a couple of jobbers. But who am I to argue? It does play it out pretty well for all of us on this one. But it was 2.0 that picked up the victory. Now, before the start of the show, we saw Jade Cargill and Layla Hirsch are now going to battle each other in Dynamite. However, they all had their own individual matches. You see, Jade Cargill thinks that Layla Jade is nowhere near her level, that she's going to finish her off. But Jade Cargill's opponent was Angelica Riz. You can guess right away that this match was already over, regardless of who Jade Cargill faces. But of course, Mark Sterling likes to claim that this is going to be over as soon as it began. Now, the next match we have Fuego del Sol, the master of the Tornado DDT, taking on the mysterious Mavuda. Mavuda attacked him right away, but however, Fuego did not waver one way or the other. Now we're seeing more of him since he's now a full-time member of the AEW roster. He, of course, you can guess that he pulled off the Tornado DDT and won his match that way. So the Master is making his way to the top, if he can make it. Now we have Sean Spears, who we all know his mindset is taking on Darby Allin. So he made an example against a guy named Cash. You can guess right away that Spears sent a loud message. Now the next match is a tag team. It's a six-man tag team match. We have TH2, Jack Evans and Angelico teaming with Jora Joel taking on Chuck Taylor, Wheeler Yuta, and Orange Cassidy. But you can guess how this match is because we know that AH4 are doing the bidding of Matt Hardy, but it was Orange Cassidy with the orange punch on Jora to pick up the victory. And of course, the people got what they want. Now our main event is Kylan King taking on Layla Hirsch. Now this was a good opportunity for Layla to challenge Kylan King because Jade Cargill doesn't believe in her mind that Layla has what it takes to take someone down. And I look at Kylan King, she's almost about the same equal size as her. And it played out very well. And Layla did a fantastic job putting her away, picking up the victory. But however, looks like that the match between both Layla and Jade is probably they want to make it happen sooner instead of waiting till Dynamite. And I think having this venue down in River Studios has changed things. I would love to see more. I'm yet to see the wrestlers that they mentioned that are formerly from NXT, but that'll be another conversation for another time. So let's move on with NXT. Okay, so the last thing I got here for all of you is NXT, or as we call it, NXT 2.0. As you can guess from the start of this part of the episode with reviewing NXT, new things are happening. It's too early to expect, but however, I'm willing to review it. The opening show started with, of course, LA Knight. Many of the wrestlers who, for example, like Tommaso Ciampa, Kyle O'Reilly, and LA Knight are giving their comments about being involved in that fatal four-way match for the NXT title now that Samoa Joe relinquished it due to a injury, which was not mentioned what kind. However, LA Knight might have made a mistake, but however, I think behind it gave headways for a wrestler to be well exposed. And he bumped into a guy named Braun Breaker. If you guys don't know who he is in real life, He is the son of legendary wrestler and one half of the Steiner brothers, Rick Steiner, Rich Steiner or something like that. But it's great to see him. He now goes by Ron Braun Breaker. Now, LA Knight, I don't know exactly if he made the right choice in putting himself in a match before his big match that he was anticipated. He looks more like he wanted to teach him a lesson, but I have to say, Braun has shown promising. I know many fans would say, those who follow Braun's history, that his uncle is known as Big Papa Pump's Scott Steiner. His dad is Rick Steiner. I don't know if that's the case or try to put him over, but it looks more like it was exactly what I see it was. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes second generation wrestlers, it's very not easy for them. But I have to say, Braun did an amazing job. But I don't know what they're trying to do with him, how they're building up, the way he's like excitement. I'm like thinking, are they trying to make him too good or what? But for me, it's still the jury is still out, and I'll let you guys know the second time I see him wrestle again. Now the next match is a tag team match. We got Imperium, Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel taking on Josh Briggs and uh, Brooks Jensen. I have to say, what a match! Brooke Jensen and Briggs are amazing. They are a very good cohesive unit. They seem like the kind of guys who are willing to fight, but you cannot count the purity of what Imperium can pull off, even though they are one of the most dominating factions ever. But I give credit for both Brooks and Briggs for trying to do the best against Imperium, but in the end, Imperium is just too much for them. So they pull off an amazing victory. Now, as you may or may not have been aware, tensions are running high between the rivalry between both Hit Row and Legado. BFAB, who is still unhappy with what happened with her little problem with Elektra. So this time we're seeing BFAB is not in a happy mood, not playing games. And I think it showed a lot of character in her. But that match between but later it jumped into a match where she took on Katrina Cortez. So basically, it did show BFAB she is a good wrestler, but however, the rivalry between both factions is an all-time high. But BFAB wants to take her on, but of course she's hiding between by Legado. But Santos knows he cannot let this happen because Hit Row are now the one faction that has been unnerved. This whole rivalry began because Santos believes Swerve has something that belongs to him, and that is the North American title. Now, as you know, I mentioned the wedding between Index is happening. It's going to be at the end. However, Odyssey Jones, Cameron Grimes, and Johnny Gargano were at the end. Were talking about who did they bet on for the NXT Championship. Uh, Out of nowhere, they received a surprise visit from Austin Theory, who ran away, but officially he just went to the main roster, and he brought Damon Priest. So that kind of brings in the mood of making the wedding a happy one. But Austin Theory is still the same idiot who we all know. He brought Damon Priest because he thought he was a real priest, even though he's not. But Damon Priest, he's just there to have a good time. Now, let's talk about the winner of the NXT Breakout Champion, Carmelo Hayes. He introduced his new friend, Trick Williams. It's still unclear who Carmelo Hayes is going to challenge. Now, is he going to challenge for the NXT title, or the North American title, the Cruiserweight, or maybe the tag team titles? It's still out. The jury's out. But Trick Williams says he will always have his back, no matter what, starting now. But we were supposed to have a match where it was Duke Hudson, and apparently he showed disrespect to Carmelo Hayes because he felt that it should have been him winning the match. But Trick Williams wasn't going to let him get away with it, and he and of course Carmelo Hayes took care of business. I wouldn't be surprised now that this thing happened that Duke Hudson will do whatever it takes to get payback against both men. That could be the case. Now, we just saw something interesting. As you know, JG Dolan and JC Jane are seeing a new version of Mandy Rose. Now we don't know what it was ever since they formed this new faction or whatever it's now being called. They're calling it the new Mandy Rose. But however, JD Dolan and JZ Jane had business to take care of against KZ Kanazaro and of course Kaden Carter. The match was great, but however, out of nowhere, this mysterious person showed up and it turned out to be Mandy Rose, now a brunette. Now, personally, I don't know what to think of it. I have seen women that look good in changing their hairstyles, but seeing Mandy Rose, I'd say, I don't know. She's still beautiful, but I'm still trying to get used to her being a brunette. I know she is a natural blonde, I think, but we'll see how that transition. However, they're trying to beat down KZ and Kaden, but they were helped by Zara, who we Zahara Sarah, who of course remember what happened. She took out Mandy Rose right in the face, and by orders of William Regal, it became a six women tag team match. We got one corner, Saraya and Kaden and KZ taking on Rose, Dolan, and of course Jane. It's a pretty interesting match. It showed how cohesive Rose, Dolan, and has now become. But the real question is this is the new faction that's going to prove a point? Do we think Mandy Rose could be one of those competitors can come after the NXT Women's title? I don't know. We could see Dolan and Jay-Z competing for the NXT Tag Team titles. That is the question that we will talk about when the time is right. But for now, they won this match. However, during this little conflict between them, we just saw the most despicable news ever. It appears that Dunn does not want this to turn into a fatal four-way, so he and Rich Holland attacked Kyle O'Reilly to ensure it turns into a triple threat. But however, that was the biggest mistake of their life. Apparently, GM William Regal made the decision later that they will continue to have a fatal four-way, but they put in another wrestler, the guy who found Kyle O'Reilly in a bad condition, and that is Von Wagner, a newbie. And he has given the opportunity to compete in this fatal four-way for a chance to become NXT Champion. And I thought it was pretty good. Now, speaking of Rich Holland, he was booked to be in a match against Drake Maverick. The match, you can guess, it ended in his favor because he is a much dangerous individual. But we'll see where they're gonna go with this at all. But Rich Holland, I don't know what's gonna happen down the line. But I have the distinct feeling that maybe Kyle O'Reilly's gonna get his payback against both men. Now, next thing we have is the Creed brothers, Julius and Brodus of Diamond Mine, taking on a couple of jobbers. But I can tell you that match was insane, very insane. These guys have proven how dominant they are. So they picked up an amazing victory. But however, Malcolm Bivens threw out a promo about proving the world right about how dominant they can be, and they introduced a new member, a female wrestler named Ivy Nile, who is, if you guys know this, they said she was part of the Titan Games. And I think this is a very interesting thing that we're seeing a female. We could see Diamond Mine maybe one day trying to obtain every title does NXT have. However, Kushida has come back to deal with Diamond Mine because, as you know, Diamond Mine are considering Kushida a liar because he was out on medical. but we'll see what's going to happen. But the match between Kushida and Roderick Strong is going to take place the following week. Now, we get to the final match, the NXT Championship in a fatal four-way. Pete Dunne, LA Knight, and Von Wright, and Tommaso Ciampa. Now, in this particular match, we all knew right from the start that it was going to go between Dunne and Tommaso Ciampa because it's more like who is the badass of the both. And I have to say, Tommaso Ciampa, who is determined to reclaim Goldie once more. That has always been his goal. Now, it's still unclear about Timothy Thatcher, but Tommaso Ciampa picked up an amazing victory and reclaiming Goldie once more. His obsession has now become. However, he looks more like he has a young competitor that may want to challenge him for Goldie, and that challenger is none other than Braun Breaker. And I think it's a little too soon for him to challenge, but we'll see where they're going to go with that. Now let's get to the thing that we all wanted to see is the wedding. I have to say, normally in weddings and wrestling, it doesn't end too well. But in this one, it was funny. Austin Theory, once again, with his idiotic, he gave the ring to someone, he just couldn't remember who it was, and it turned out to be Ikemen Jiro, who is wearing his jacket, still in his wrestling gear, had the ring. But of course, my favorite moment on this is when the priest says, if there's anybody who objects to not seeing these two together, Dexter Lumis pulls out his jacket and there was an axe, and they all just. And of course, Johnny Gargano defending them's like, yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. And that kind of is a great moment to see. And then, of course, the priest caused another problem. Kind of ruined it for them. But I knew right from the start something was going to happen. And it turned out to be Beth Phoenix. She said, I knew this was going to happen. So I went online and I got ordained. So she saved the day. She wants the fairy tale ending on this wedding. And of course, but the biggest surprise, Dexter Lumis spoke and said the words he needed to say. I do. You can hear the gasp of people like, I don't know. That is the best moment. People hearing Dexter Lumis saying his first words. It's classic. You never seen Dexter Lumis talk, but now this particular wedding showed it. It went off with a hitch, and now we got Index officially married. Now, normally we see disasters, but no disasters. I think we want to see how this has progressed, but right now in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, now they're married. What's going to happen in their honeymoon? I don't know. We'll see what happens next week. I'm excited to see that happen. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode reviewing Gatoh Move, NWA, AEW Dark, and of course NXT 2.0, as they're calling it. Coming up, we have AEW Dynamite, but I will review past events from 3 different Japanese promotions. We got All Japan Pro Wrestling for the Summer Action Series, Stardom's Golden Week Fight Tour, and of course Dragon Gate for their glorious Gate show. So I'm excited with all these events that I haven't seen, and of course catching up with everything else. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang!